So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our next virtual session. We are really getting closer to our event, which is on the 19th of October. Countdown is on, 32 days left, and always great to also get the community together online. Today, we have a session that is very much flipped on its head. So typically we would have a thought provoker coming to us, sharing their knowledge. And today you are our thought provokers. And we will be asking questions, and hopefully we'll get into a really good discussion together to start talking about, are we ready to design our workplace of the future? Are we ready to design it, to build it together? We are really eager to hear from everyone, and there will be quite a lot of different formats used today. We will have Mentimeter, we will have, of course, Zoom breakout rooms. Also, Padlet is back today because we had some really good feedback on the use of it last time. So I'm excited, and I'm also excited because I'm joined by a dear person to us, Robert. Robert, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So a few words about Robert before I get going with other things is Robert calls himself an active adult, which basically means after 40 years of really beautiful career in different various roles, starting in marketing and going into chief learning officer roles, he's now actually still working in several part-time roles.
Right.
So Robert, senior faculty member of George Burnside Academy is one of them. Senior learning advisor in the Nomadic Learning, and also a very important role to ours, and our team is our advisor. And I have to say, I feel quite sentimental today having this session. Some of you may have been with us on the 9th of March when COVID hit and we couldn't be face-to-face, and we actually did our first virtual session. Robert was facilitating with us, and I feel like a time capsule is kind of slowly closing, and hopefully soon we'll have an opportunity to have our event, have our conference. If you haven't heard, we will not postpone anymore. So hopefully COVID will allow us to have the session face-to-face. If not, we'll do it virtually. So no matter what, we will be meeting on the 19th of October. And if you haven't saved the date, please do. But enough about 19th of October and more about today. I have a couple of logistical elements to mention before we jump into the session itself. I think I've mentioned to some of you before we started recording that you're really welcome to keep your cameras on. We love to see people, especially when we start to have the breakout rooms discussions. We highly recommend to keep it on. Breakout rooms will not be recorded, so maybe this is the point where you want to keep your camera on. You are all automatically muted. We will be calling on people, but also if you have something, just raise your hand. There's a functionality on Zoom to raise your hand, or use chat to pose a question to us. Again, just to repeat, our focus for today is, are you ready to design our workplace of the future? Agenda is super simple. We are warming up now. We'll have a poll. And the heart of the whole session is our breakout rooms discussions and using Padlet, a tool I will introduce a little later for anyone who doesn't know. And then we'll return back around 10 minutes before the full hour to have a closing poll and a discussion all together. I'm submitting some more people who are joining us still. We typically run these sessions for maximum of 75 minutes. If you have to go at the full hour, 11 o'clock in Zurich, you're welcome to do that. We will stay a bit longer for anyone else who is able to join and stay with us for a bit longer. So that's on the logistics part. I don't know, Robert, if I've maybe missed something on your side. Do you want to
it's okay. Nope, I'm good to go.
Very good. So over to you, Robert.
Thank you. So what we want to get to by the end of our session today is some practical ideas about the workplace of the future that we want to build that we can actually use. And when you're exchanging knowledge, the best thing to do is you need a clear concept for the head. That means something that you can say, I can say, we can all understand. Okay, great. However, that clear concept also needs to be connected to a positive feeling, both for me, if it's my concept, but also for you, if you hear it. There's two hearts involved in the emotions connected to a concept. And then finally, it's even if it's a very clear and we all think it's wonderful, it's meaningless unless we know what to do with it. And we need there, you don't need a big, standard operating procedure manual. You just need a few first steps to get going. So by the end of the day, we hope to have some clear concepts, positive emotions, and a few steps to take. So next.
Very good. And maybe I just acknowledge I've admitted several more people to the session when we're opening it up. Welcome everybody, great to see you. What we said is the session today will be quite interactive, lots of discussions in breakout rooms, so get ready. I hope your minds and hearts are open for an interesting discussion. So we will actually start the conversation with a bit of engagement from everybody. Hopefully many of you know Mentimeter already. Grab your phone, it's the best to use on the phone. Type menti.com. You will be asked to enter a code. Our code is 9696459. And yeah, we'll want to hear from you. And if you have any problems, please use the chat to let us know. And yeah, there's a good question from Maya directly to me. Will the recording be shared? Yes, those virtual sessions we are recording. We have a YouTube channel where all the sessions can be found. So it's going to be probably a shorter recording because breakout rooms won't be recorded and we don't have that functionality. But yeah, you'll be able to see definitely the start and the end of the session in the whole group. I'm going to flip my screen very quickly to be able to watch it with you. And we have already some results coming. We have 11
Wow.
in. Well done.
Great. Yeah, I really agree with these ideas that, for example, COVID has just changed everything. And that's why nobody really knows what the future is going to be. Those people who say they know what the future is going to be, don't listen to them because nobody really knows. COVID's been a shock. And I agree with you. I don't have confidence that we're ready for the future yet. We're getting ideas. We need to be thinking and preparing, though, that's for sure. And I appreciate the confidence this group has ready to design. That's great. I think who else is going to do it except us? But I like the fact that we're aware everything's changed and we're not really ready. Those are good ideas. What do you think, Ola? What's your sense of that?
Yeah, definitely happy to see. I feel like we are in the right group together today, especially on point 3, ready to design. So that's the energy we want to see today and hopefully on the 19th as well. Yeah, personally, the point number 2 is not a surprise to me. I think we are all watching and we probably learned to respond day by day to changes and be ready for anything. So agility is the new skill for us, but our workplace is agile and ready for the future. That's a question to be answered, and we have a role to play here as well. So we have 13 people who answered. I think this is probably the max we will get.
Yep, I think we should move. Those are great. The statistics they make sense to me. I think that's just exactly right.
And again, just an encouragement to everybody. If you have any additional thoughts or comments on the results, please use the chat functionality as well. We love to hear from people on on the screen as well. So I'm going to introduce another tool to you. We've used it in the previous session, virtual session, so some of you will be already familiar with it. It's called Padlet. And in a second, I will send you a link to it so you can all open it on your computers or on your phones. Padlet is a very simple tool where we all can gather ideas and basically start populating those ideas virtually. So it's a virtual collaboration tool. It's simple. You'll be broken up into smaller groups. You have round one of questions. There are 3 questions, and it's really your choice as a group how many questions you want to address, how many you want to spend time on. Whenever you have any idea ready, you press a plus sign here, and you can then type, let's say, workspace of the future. And then you can add some text. I'll just type whatever. And you can also add images that are populated directly by the tool. So feel free to play with it. The more, the better. There are no good answers or bad answers. We just want a lot of answers and ideas from you. And maybe also, Robert, if you can comment more on the content of texting here, that would be great.
I would, and then you can send people the link in the meantime, I guess.
Yes, I will.
What I'd like to say, the reason why we have prepared today as a question, for us to ask a question together and chat with each other about it, is because there's too much what I would call abstract stuff out there about the workplace of the future. You've all heard the same things I have. What's the future workplace going to be? I'll read you a little list. There's going to be more focus on health and well-being. We're going to have more people working remotely. Technology is going to be better used in HR for like 24/7 feedback. Hierarchies are more flat, right? There's more soft skills in leadership, empathy, curiosity, inclusiveness, more collaboration skills, more emphasis on purpose in the future. You know, that whole idea of stakeholder versus stockholder. So we've all heard those ideas, and they're wonderful ideas, but that's all they are. You know, they're this kind of surfacey. Today we want to go deeper, and we want it to be personal. What do I think? How do I feel about it? And then in round 2, we'll go to what might we do about it. So that's why we're doing this. So Ola, I think we can move on.
Sure, I'm just about to create rooms for everybody. We will be around 4 people in each room. So I'm gonna create, I'm going for 5 rooms. There's gonna be 3 to 4 participants per room. There's 10 minutes for the first discussion, but maybe before we go into breakout rooms, because you won't be able to see us again, are there any questions? Is everything clear? Very good. 3 questions, first round. There is a second round coming in. We'll come back after the first round and address again any questions, and we will try to visit you with Robert. I think, Robert, you'll be assigned to one of the rooms automatically. Okay. And I'll like to join as well. So enjoy the conversation. Super. And see you soon. The group is 10 minutes long, the first group, and you'll get a 60 seconds warning from me when the time is approaching to the end. So enjoy. So we can slowly see everybody coming back. Hi.
Thanks for bringing us back, Ola. It was sure fun. That was really a fun conversation.
Great to hear. I'll just wait a second for everybody to join back.
Great.
Okay, most of people are back. We have 7 people without video. So I would love to hear how the conversation went. Yeah, was it enough time? I saw, no, Jane is, no. There will be a second round. There's good news.
Yeah, I think it was tough to get started. Just waiting for the link and waiting to get started. So then, yeah, I think a little bit more time for the first one to have more time also to just meet each other briefly and that kind of thing as well.
That's a good idea. We'll remember that next time. 15 minutes, first one, 10 seconds. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And what we can do now, because we are quite good on time, we can actually give 15 minutes in the second round. So if you want to close anything off, you will have that bonus time to do that. And I will share the screen just to have a look at what's already on our beautiful Padlet. I saw quite a lot coming in, so let's have a look.
I think what we want to do here is we look at what people posted is to be seeing if you see consensus or differences, or you see a unique perspective that's interesting for you. Will you scroll for us a little bit, Ola, so we can?
Sure. And yeah, if you're noticing something, as we are quite a small group, it's really okay to go off mute and comment as we go. I think
Right.
we're absolutely fine to hear from any of you. So it's not only us with Robert who can comment here. I mean, clearly the first column with what have you learned is full, and I spotted a couple of different things: human connection, collaboration. I saw things on trust. There were comments about virtual work.
I love this notion. It came up in our group too, that there's greater chance for collaboration, but also a greater necessity for understanding individual difference. That one there. Greater for inclusion, greater need for sensitivity to difference. That's great. That's a big one, I think.
And if I can call on Jane, I think you guys in your group were discussing diversity as well.
Yes, we were discussing diversity in how people like to work. And Tanya shared that in her company, they'd recently done a survey to see about people coming back to the workplace. And some are quite happy working at home and feel they're more productive there.
Yeah.
A smaller number want to get back to the office and feel that they'll be more productive there. And then there are, she called them, I thought it was a good word, flexitarians.
Flexitarians?
Flexitarians. So, but I think, and also Sophie shared that as well. I mean, that always worked virtually in her workplace and things. There's the idea that there's diversity in how people find it useful to be productive and happy at work. And we've had this expectation that it's sitting in an office. And
it's it's so interesting how productivity differs for different people. And I've also heard the same thing about health concerns. Some people do not want anything to do with anyone else because they're afraid of COVID, and others are less afraid. So the health concerns are also very individual. It's interesting.
And then I do some work that I've done. I found that a lot of people have said, you know, the home office has been very difficult on keeping physically active, but all those things of traveling to the office and traveling back to the office and all those things create breaks in their day and create those opportunities to do physical exercise and things like that, whereas sitting at home has tended to be very unhealthy. So for them, they've done less exercise, eaten more and things like that. So I think there's differences in different people, whereas other people you meet, you know, obviously they're finding it's quite different. I had a coaching client who just says she feels a whole lot less stressed when there's not other people around her who are very stressed, because she feels like she absorbs their stress and gets stressed herself.
You know, also seeing these hard feeling things, and Ola, thanks for going up and scrolling up and down on them, but I also see that the positive is that there was much more openness about mental and physical health. People were kind of more human, they were saying in our group. It's interesting. And then the negativity was more if people were not treated differently, if they were kind of just acted as if they were machines. I don't know, what else is in there? Interested in the group comments. Yeah.
I'm just scrolling here. I think, you know, the notion of office and the purpose of office is definitely visible across. Emotional intelligence I see here in the positives, but also some comments that are negative. I'm just gonna scroll as it's a lot to digest as well. Yeah, working outside. That's interesting, and we can see Hiji actually working outside now with us. Great to see that. More family time. Yes, so the flexibility is definitely visible here.
Could we look a little bit at the negatives too?
Sure, there is the least comments here, so it's just the two that we can see.
Ah, okay.
So maybe that's the field that people need to focus on a bit more when we go to the 15 minutes breakout. But any comments from people? Did you have a chance to discuss the negative sides? Isabel, I'm gonna call on you.
Okay. One positive side is also a negative side, because I think we've seen really the extremes during this area. So there were lots of companies, lots of managers, lots of people that grew in empathy, that really got more connected and showed more their human side. And at the same time, there were also many that just automatically in their autopilot, when so much just somehow we need to achieve figures, etc., and make this work, that they forgot the human side totally. So I think we've seen the extremes.
It's interesting to me that there's some software development going on that allows the central office to manage the person by, are they working? Which makes me, it sounds negative to me, honestly.
Yeah,
totally. I'm conscious of time, so I would suggest we go to the second round of breakouts. Right. This time you have the two new questions. One is around taking the first steps to build the future of workplace. Also naming a couple of obstacles on the way, but forces that will enable our success. And also thinking about what we need to learn and learn to really build the future. And if you still want to comment on the previous round, you're welcome to do it. As I said, 15 minutes this time. We'll have to squeeze the closing, but hopefully this will give us enough time to conclude. So enjoy the discussions now. Hello, everybody. I think we have most of you back now. I think I was over generous saying 15 minutes. I cut it to 12. Sorry for that. Trying to also make enough space for comments, and we also
final poll too.
Final poll is important to us. So maybe just quickly a couple of reactions from people. How did that conversation go? The two questions. Can I hear from Hiji maybe? You're on mute.
There you go.
Yes.
So in our group, what we were saying in terms of downsides. No, first we talked about what is needed to make that step, and we discussed making a conscious shift from putting efficiency and productivity and cost first towards putting people first, and those soft leadership skills that you mentioned, empathy, emotional intelligence. So if we manage to make that shift, then productivity and efficiency will actually follow and will increase. So this is what we discussed. And then on the downsides, and please, Sonia, Isabel, feel free to add, as we were closing the conversation, is that we are losing, when everything goes remote, we are losing part of our unique humanity in terms of connection. And when everything's virtual, I'm afraid we're losing capacity to interact face to face. We're unlearning how to read nonverbal cues. We're becoming hesitant to call people because chatting is easier. So these are some of the risks to lose that human aspect, that connection, and in a private context, also the intimacy, and when it becomes so much easier to chat and to do things on screen, how are we teaching our children to read other kinds of communication?
Thank you.
Have I captured it well, guys?
Silence means agreement, hopefully. Sonia is off mute.
No, I think you captured it really nicely. I think the only other point that we talked about at the outset is there's a real opportunity here for us to leave the past behind. So really consciously think about what isn't working for us, what hasn't worked for us, be that processes, thinking, ways of working, and leave that behind as we move into the future. Let's not take that legacy with us if it's not serving us.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And maybe a little bit on the positive side, yes, there is this risk, and there's human touch, but the physical one. And nevertheless, as I've experienced, we can create a lot of empathy, a lot of connection also via video. We just have to do it. And still there is, HG is right there, there is something will lack nevertheless. So we still need the human touch. But we can do a lot online as well.
The group I was in, we got into a couple of good conversations, and maybe they can speak for themselves, but one was feedback. Can feedback become more transparent in the workplace of the future? You know, can we show how well we're doing on working together and talk to each other about how we want to work together? Can that be more transparent? That was one question. And then on the unlearning side, can we unlearn the fear of transparency? I thought those are interesting ideas.
Great thoughts. And what I would suggest now is, I know that some people will have to leave at the full hour. Why don't we move to the closing poll and use the 15 minutes, the remaining 15 minutes for discussions with the group to continue kind of looking at the points. Would that work for people?
Yeah.
Very good. So the request is again to go into Mentimeter. I'm going to share my desktop again. Just a second, bear with me. Flipping it. So the first thing we are asking is, hopefully some ideas already are sparking in your head, and we have one question to you. What is your one commitment to building the future of workplace? Dream big. Love it. We have one person so far joining. It's again the same way to join. Go to menti.com, use our code. The code is here, 9696459. Hopefully you can join and share your commitments with us. And there will be 2 more questions we will be asking. Making creative contributions. Asking the same questions where I work. Yes. Increase standards of transparency. Radical candor. Yay.
Nice.
To listen to what people want. Develop leaders and teams for emotional intelligence. Really good to see some of the ideas. I'll give a little bit more time, maybe for a few more people to join. I hope Mentimeter is working smoothly for you. I can see some of you still typing. And again, in the meantime, if you feel like going off mute and commenting on what you're seeing on the screen, you're really welcome to do it. We are a small group, so would love to hear any comments. Sharing ideas how the future workplace could be more human. Be open to try and fail. Be flexible to different ways of working. Some really good builds on, I think, the discussions that went in the breakout rooms.
Ola, we should probably go to the final poll so we capture people before those that have to leave.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing your commitments, and I'm flipping to the next one. Two more questions for you. The question is, do you disagree or agree on how do we feel about readiness for designing the future? Some movement already happening, very good to see. And we're curious to hear your view on co-creating with the larger community.
Yeah, I'm glad to see these results. I appreciate the humility for question one. Yeah, we're ready to go, but we still have something to learn. But I also especially am glad to see question two, because I think we won't get there unless we all do it together, honestly. Has to be a co-creation. I feel strongly about that. These seem like good answers to me.
Yeah, very good.
Bye, Hiji. Thank you. I see Hiji in chat. Has to leave. Bye.
Bye, Hiji. Thanks for being with us. Good. So that's, I mean, feel free to still use Menti. I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay.
As we are at the full hour, whoever wants to stay with us, as mentioned, we are still here. I'm happy to share back the Padlet so we can have a look at what's happening. I would love to hear from more people around, you know, what happened in your breakout rooms. And goodbye to everybody who has to go. Thanks for being with us. So let me share back Padlet. What I've noticed, especially in the round two question, there was a lot of mention again about leadership practices.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious to hear more about it. You know, what is
me too.
Yeah.
It's both what are those practices, but also how do we implement them?
Yes.
How do we make them happen? I'm very interested in that. Sophie, what do you think? I'm going to call on people. Sophie, what do you think? What should they be, and how do we make them happen?
I think Ola knows my answer already. It's to actually listen to people and what they have to say, not just ask, but then truly listen.
So in other words, ask them what leadership practices should be, and I guess hold a conversation in which you build consensus. Is that how you would implement that?
Yeah. I used to work at a hotel, and what they taught us on the first day there was don't treat guests like you want to be treated. Treat them like they want to be treated.
That's interesting.
That's such a good piece of wisdom, and I think that goes for organizations and hospitality and any other place as well. Yeah.
Interesting.
So what's right for me might not be right for anyone else.
Very good point.
Other voices.
Sonia, you wrote beautiful church bells.
Time for church.
I think that might be me actually. I live near a very large church.
Okay, Jen, then I'll jump in. I don't have a church here. That might be easier, and then you can go after your church. For me, okay, adding to the listening, two more practices that I really find very important, especially at the moment, is self-compassion and to be also compassionate with others. Yes, to spread kindness. Also in the workplace, which was really alien still a couple of years ago, and really start with yourself, because elsewise you can't. If you're still totally blown away, etc., you have to be compassionate with yourself first.
See, Isabel, how do we? I'll ask a ridiculous question here. How do we implement that? How do we make people be compassionate? How do we make that happen?
Just hire me.
Easy.
Yeah, no, it's not that difficult. It's really So for self-compassion, or let's start with self-compassion, because that's really what needs to first, is, for instance, perspective taking. That when you're in a challenge somewhere, ask yourself what a mentor, somebody who thinks well of you, who wants your best, what would this person tell to you about your challenges? And then you can do, for instance, journaling about that. That I find very helpful. And people usually come out, wow, mind blowing. I can be kind to myself.
So it's a combination of teaching and self-reflection, something like
exactly,
that?
yeah, because
Okay.
the key to self-reflection. That's nothing else. Self-reflection, it's, what's also helpful is meditation. So when you talk about compassion, there's a very nice meditation that's a loving kindness meditation. So where you inwardly are wishing well to others. And those that have been with my training, they know you can also do it very quickly, just by taking 3 deep breaths. The first, you concentrate on yourself. The second, you go beyond the bias by thinking of what unites you with the other person, something where you're similar. So you put them in your in-group with that, and that helps you to be able to be empathetic. And in the third step, sorry, and then I'll stop.
No,
and then you wish something nice for somebody. Okay.
No, it's good. Those practices make a lot of sense to me. Other thoughts in our group here? What are the first steps to bring about this future workplace we want?
I think from my side, it's about needing to be prepared. You said the change of leadership. Change of leadership means that leaders have to be prepared to give away some of the control and allow people to investigate and learn how they can change processes in ways that are working themselves. So we talked in our group about asking and listening, but even that, now I think about it and reflecting on it, you give the information for management so that they can do what can be done. But in the end, it's actually the people need to be doing it themselves. So it's about facilitating that so that people can actually, if they need to make changes in a team, that they do it themselves. It doesn't require management.
Yeah. So, I hear you say, it's like sharing authority more or giving more authority out into the organization. I'd also like to say about, for me, I would like to change the notion of leadership from one based on role authority to leadership being everyone is a leader. And what do I need to do with my leadership capability? And then that's invited from everybody. I think that's a mental switch that we need to make.
Yeah. So it's on that line, and I think any of these changes require that. The involvement I had with the 4-day week is that they basically said to the teams, you go and work out how you can work a 4-day week. They didn't come in and say, you will do it this way. You will, you will do this process improvement. You will, share the workload amongst yourselves in this way, or whatever. They said, if you want this, work out how you can do it in your team.
It's interesting to me to think about how do we set up a culture, I guess, in which people are invited, not only those with role authority to give away authority, but also everyone is invited to take authority or to claim authority, which is that's a different way of thinking about it.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing, having many of you probably went to the Hacking Agile where you met Bob Chapman. In most cases, I think he says things like, most people manage their lives very effectively, and then we put them in a workplace and we expect them to somehow lose that ability. So, and I remember that one time also that thought where we were all going, oh, we're introducing a new IT system, and the IT consultant said to us, hey, look, most of your people use e-banking. It's a huge change in your workplace, but, let's get real, you know. And so I think of that authority one. Many people will have been used to managing and running their own lives. And somehow we bring them into a workplace and tell them they can't. They switch that part of that brain off, but then they go back out and manage their lives again. I mean, obviously there's some people that don't, and you know, they have a really bossy husband or wife or mother or something, but you know, most people exercise more authority probably in their life than they do in their workplace.
Interesting.
Sonia, I cannot help but think about our own experience with Agile certification, which I mean, Sonia was the one who was my facilitator in the session, and you know, we spent a lot of time talking about how to start with Agile mindset and what it means for leaders and for teams, and it's all about really letting go of that control and hierarchy and enabling and trusting people that they are the experts, they have the answers, and they are also totally free to fail. We called it more, you know, learning fast. They are learning fast, and they can quickly, you know, pivot, test a solution, and maybe jump to something else. So I feel like Agile organization is one of the ways to start changing the future workplace.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think the word Agile can strike fear in people, but actually, you know, you don't need to go full Scrum. You can pick some of those really nice Agile concepts. You know, you said it, Ola, moving from enforcing to enabling our teams. We don't know the answers as leaders. We don't know the answers to everything. We've got smart teams. We need to give them the tools and support to be successful, and then, you know, move more to that servant leadership space, and then really drive that collaboration. And I believe as leaders and as people, we need to be the change we want to see, lead by example. And I think that creates a really nice ripple effect in organizations as people suddenly start seeing things done differently and realize they can be done differently. It can be hard to start that kind of movement, but yeah, I'm with you. I think there's some really nice pieces of the Agile mindset and methodology that any organization can just pick out to start moving forward in a way that is meaningful for them.
I'm actually working now with a client who is kind of starting on the journey with Agile, and it's like observing a child with growing pains. I mean, it's painful and it's out of comfort zone, and not everybody will almost, I want to say, survive this change. You know, it's not for everybody, and that's fine, right? It's an evolution of this organization, and yeah, people need to take their time to digest and to unlearn a lot of skills as well. But a very interesting evolution happening, and I think we'll see more of that happening. But I think we have to all acknowledge, and in my role as an HR person, I think giving people space to digest and to go through that growing pain is as important as, you know, growing awareness, etc. So I'm curious to see.
I agree. I also think listening is, and I really appreciated the emphasis on listening, but also listening is difficult. Because if you really if you really listen, you have to take in a point of view you disagree with, honestly. And that's difficult. That's just hard to do, you know. It's interesting for me because I think as a community, we're trying to practice what we preach, which I really like. You know, we're walking our talk, we're talking our walk. That's great. But then who's not here who might have things we need to listen to your point, Ola, that not everybody's going to go along with this new workplace. How do we listen to them in a way? How do we include them that they feel they belong to this new thing? You know, it's hard. That's all. It's just hard.
It's a very good summary of our conversation we had earlier, Robert, right? If we close ourselves to our own community, there is a high risk of, you know, just being in our own world and not being able to.
Our own bubble. Yeah.
And I don't think it's our aim to create that bubble, but it's quite easy to go to that mode. So I think we all have a role in bringing that external view in as well.
Right. Remaining open to other views. Yeah.
I think it's harder in society at the moment. and with the way social media operates, it actually encourages more and more bubbles to be created, some of them quite extreme, but it seems to also be creating a lot of the political views that you're hearing at the moment are very extreme, and there's a lot more polarization. But I mean, it's a different topic than what we're talking about in the future of work.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a downside of this digital environment, is that it is easier to be separate.
When it comes
Stay
to
in your own.
opinions, opinions and views, it's easier to be separate. It's easier to be perhaps closer with people on the other side of the world to actually connect, but then actually be more separate from, on views.
Yeah.
We heard the
Hola.
church bell, which is a good
you can see why I'm always on time.
So practical. So thanks a lot for a really, really fruitful conversation. Thank you for staying with us longer. And just a little reminder, there's gonna be one more virtual coffee with the Shakers. It's the less formal session, quite similar to the one we had now. And 19th of October is coming soon. I spoke about it earlier. For Sonia, for example, in case we go virtual, you will be welcome to join us as well. I know it's quite difficult to travel now, but lovely to have you.
Thank you, that sounds great.
Great to see everybody, and just enjoy.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.
So much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.